Welcome, SASANS, to this week's episode of SASANS and Dragons, our homebrew house rule infested game of 5th edition, Dungeons and Dragons. I am Magnus Beasticus, your dungeon master for the evening, and you may have noticed that this is not a holiday episode, nor did we launch a holiday episode during the holidays. That's because we value your time with your family. And our time with ours as well. So instead of recording an episode, we opened it to our friends and family and ran a game for everyone, inducing D&D into their womb.
That's not what inducing
We'll just
has
scratch
to
that
mean.
off right there. Pretend you never heard that. Continue on.
Just exposed your plan for World War
D&D for everyone in the most intimate of ways. So this session we are picking up in the main campaign, yet it will also be a one-off. How these work is I will sort of, in some way, shape, or form, wisp them away from the action, and if they succeed in this, they can bring back benefits and insight and knowledge back to the main campaign. But if they fail, they will be crippled in the main campaign in some way, shape, or form, which would suck because they're in a pretty intense battle on the Smoldering Wake, Fabian's capital airship, and Hercheck's almost dead, which you've noticed Hercheck is not here. That's the reason for this one-off right now. So, without further ado, let's see what they're going to get up against.
I'm Thunky Beerbot, and don't let my facial hair fool you. I am a female mountain dwarf druid. I come from a long line of beer brewers, hence the name Beerbot. I had a mostly normal upbringing in the mountains of northern Melibrius, and I've always had an affinity towards animals, not so much the ruling races. I have many fond childhood memories of wandering the local forests in search of new furry friends. Eventually, on the advice of my parents, I enrolled in druidic studies and began honing my spellcasting abilities. My instructor, Elder Dalbrook, was a highly logical man and taught me my most important life lesson, that even though nature is beautiful, it cannot exist without chaos. There isn't a day that goes by that I do not repeat that message to myself. I understand that not all beasts can be tamed, and sometimes I will have to battle one. I don't like to admit it, but this happens more often with my new family, Orin's Obliterate. But I will stop at nothing to ensure their safety, and I may cause some chaos in the process.
If you were to gaze upon the mysterious property of Orenbel's finest artificer, you would find a very large mansion met by a garden with superbly sculpted shrubbery. At any given time, there is but only one worker which may be found on these grounds. And why, that is me, Crow. I am one of Master Cuumentus's many creations. The majority of my being is made up of organic, plant-like material. The rest is mechanical. There are many duties for which I was created for, some of which include cooking, cleaning, obtaining materials and ingredients, assisting with laboratory duties, removing trespassers from the property, acting as the master's personal bodyguard when in town, and closest friend, always. These may be some of my regular duties, though Master Cuumentus mentioned that I am fully loaded with great purpose and grand potential. I have yet to discover the meaning behind those words. Maybe he was referencing the inaccessible areas of my internal systems, or maybe he was just trying to make me feel better about my self-realized lack of greater purpose in this world. Or maybe it is a metaphor for the many journeys he planned for us. Either way, I seek to discover the true potential of my being.
Hello, I am Var'Kir Invictari. I am an Aasimar of the clan Invictari at Barathor's Reach. To explain more about myself, I must first explain the world we live in, full of angels and monsters that toy with mortal lives like cheap coins. I sought out to rid us of the need to constantly appease these beings of considerable power. Even if all the world is my enemy, they will thank me when the work is done. For I believe in the strength of my fellow mortal. We have turned the tides of battle with nothing but one act that has spiraled out to a glory that is yet to be rivaled in this day and age. Kalanor, my right hand, my sword and shield. Altero, my left, my bow. All the others were dear to me, just as my mother and father. The angel that speaks to me in my dreams warns me of the dangers of what I do. But I know my path is virtuous, though I cannot say the same for the company I now find myself with. They may represent the truest of dangers, or the brightest of futures. Time will tell.
My name is Hercheck Bane. I am from the clan the Frenzied Bear, whose home is at the northeastern part of the Shattered Peaks. Growing up, I was split between two tribes, fighting over the land we both tried to call our own. My tribe's battle mentality was of pure carnage during warring, praising an unknown entity that I personally detested. My father, Urkelm Bane, was fourth in line to be chieftain, known in the tribe to be a fierce warrior on the battlefield, and to have saved many lives in combat over the ages. He has but one mighty secret, which is where I come in. Born from a forbidden love with a mighty warrior woman from the clan the Roaring Tempest, my tribe's rivals. My mother, Var'Kir Stormwill, the Roaring Tempest. She was a brutal warrior on the battlefield and a kind priestess to those in need. Her deity, Ragensha, as a weapon as well as her shield, is the goddess I now follow. After years of secrecy, I could no longer hold back my rage. During a battle with a fellow clansman, I unleashed my storm-bound fury. Luckily, through the deeds of my father and the tribe, I was not sentenced to death on the spot. I was, though, cast out from my clan, exiled, never to return or show my face around them. My title in the clan removed from me. One day I will return to my homeland and take over my clan to show them that there can be peace amongst all tribes. Unity is what I seek for the Goliath race, and I will achieve that goal, even if it takes my life.
When last we left our heroes of Orin's Obliterate, they had made it on to Fabian Wild's capital flying ship, the Smoldering Wake. They had battled him briefly, finding out that he is a commander worth his title, giving both Var'Kir, Hercheck, and Crow a run for their money, and taking Hercheck down to a state of brief unconsciousness before Hercheck sort of, in his natural zone of comfort, arises in an enraged state. Logic and reasoning seemingly gone from his mind. Thunky had a brief sort of moment with Silnefris, the caged the caged elemental inside of or powering Fabian's ship, and this is where we pick up now. Remember, Thunky, your now sort of completed headdress helps you listen to the thoughts of spirits on the material realm. That's how you can communicate with the Unagoth, which sort of confuses you because they look like just a regular sort of creature or something from the Underdark. But with this headdress, you've been able to sort of make a brief moment of communication with the elemental inside of the cage, and I'm going to turn this song off because it's no longer appropriate.
Maybe it's just too appropriate.
Too appropriate. Cool. I don't even know if this will be appropriate, but I just want to play it. You are all caught in this brief moment of synchronicity between the members of Orin's Obliterate, all with the exception of Hercheck, almost lost to this rage. Thunky, you feel this sort of this tug of your consciousness from inside of the cage, and Silnefris speaks to you and says, "Thunky, child of the wild, this is all I can do. A piece of insight and possibility." And you see sort of green-tinged wind collect inside of the cage to a point of coalescing into a feather that sort of shoots and escapes from the cage and sort of floats down and inserts itself into your headdress. She continues by saying, "Fill it with my power and bring it back, and these bars will be of no consequence." And with that, you feel this coldness sort of permeate from the feather itself and extend into your skull, which feels very cool, almost like water pouring down your inside of your body. A little bit of brain freeze, but it continues and mitigates the feeling of brain freeze as it sort of permeates throughout your entire body, and it almost feels as though the particles of your physical form, like wind, is just blowing right through it and taking you with it in the entirety of your essence, as opposed to your physical form just breaks apart. The scene of the ship disappears from you as everybody else sees this sort of like torrent of wind blow from the cage around the ship, whisking Crow and Var'Kir away as well. You both feel this similar sensation of just wind passing through your body and taking all of the essence and particles along with it, as your perceptions as you know them sort of leave and sort of rush past you. As you feel yourself being brought through this shifting landscape, not necessarily going to a far distant location geographically, but temporally. It's like you're in the same area, but you feel sort of trees growing and shifting and the landscapes morphing and cracking down and or building up, rather, going back in time, before you are brought to you feel the wind subside a little bit. You feel your physical form as you once knew it again, and you hear the sort of rushing of wind in trees and the shuffling of branches. 1 second. Your vision comes to you, and you see this sort of like shifting sea of blue waving around you. You focus in, and the wind subsides a little bit more, and the sea subsides a little bit and calms, and you notice that it's branches of great willow trees spanning across the distance. You look down to see that you are on the sort of central mass of a willow tree with large extending arms outward, and sort of looking through the partition of the arms, you can see the vista before you. Blue leaves spilling down each one of them. It's not as though they're the same sort of like contained mop of a willow tree. It's like these willow trees have thick arms that extend outward and just have that similar mop on each thick branch, if that makes sense.
Quick question. Is this Koltessa blue or just blue?
This is just blue. This is like a natural yet sort of, it's just like a natural nature sort of blue. And the wind now sort of fades all around. You just hear this light by you and the shuffling of leaves and branches. Thunky, you feel the wisp sort of almost like purposefully wrap around you and cascade up your body and shrink inside of the feather that has sort of added itself to your ensemble of feathers above both ears. Watching the vista of willow trees, you notice that some are not exactly growing higher than others, but they're actually on smaller portions of land that are floating in the air. You hear and see in front of you, leaping from the first tree separated from your own through branches, through the sort of lulling branches of the willow tree, green lemurs just jumping from tree to tree, and you hear them sort of like playing and frolicking about, shuffling from one tree to another tree. A shadow passes over the immediate trees in front of you as you see golden hawks just dip up and over and down, spread their wings, pass under you, and sort of land on a pond filled with lilies at the base of the trees lower to you. You are about 100 feet in the air right now. I'd say Thunky, roll a perception check.
Did you say they're blue hawks or gold hawks?
Gold hawks.
Okay.
Where is that one? Oh. Did you say passive?
No,
Or
just
just
roll
perception?
perception. Your passive is so high, that's why I'm saying you should do it.
28.
For a brief moment, you almost you feel a glimpse of synchronicity between you and the wind around you. You can sort of feel the channels of wind pressing in and out of the leaves, passing over animals and insects. Looking down where the hawks got your immediate attention, you see that there's a portion of the trunk of the tree that is discolored compared to the rest. Brown. Rotting, actually, that seems to be sort of like permeating outward and almost touching the water.
It's been touched by the dark crystal.
From this, you specifically, Thunky, sort of feel the wind pick up more, passing through your shoulders and out in front of you. And you see or feel like flower petals pass over your back and sort of waft in this stream of wind. Focusing a little bit, you notice that the stream is almost a collected sort of torrent, going in, sort of like arcing in and out and weaving through the trees. And you hear this like, as bursting about like 50 yards in front of you, from beneath the canopy of trees, you see this sort of teal creature, this teal avian creature, that billows out their wings and starts sort of circling the area frantically. With your perception check, trying to understand where it's coming from, you hear an even sort of like larger snap. Sorry.
I don't know where that was. I'm contaminated now.
Yes. Hey, you guys are the ones that were sick. I'm sorry about that. But if anything, you're stronger than you've ever been before if you embrace it.
Mediocre.
If a DM can't spit on his players, then what is even the point?
Oh god. Also,
yeah,
it's doing that again. Is that fine?
that's fine. It's still it's been
never
doing it the whole
mind.
time. So you hear the cracking of branches and a more bassy sort of colliding through the canopy of trees right after the teal creature. This black form, this sort of like darker screech, this curdling screech of something trying to intimidate and encircle its prey. As you now see just sort of this like black batted winged creature collide into the form of this teal winged creature, and just their wings are frantically flapping. One is scraping at the other, then they'll sort of like burst apart, and before they hit the canopy of trees, they'll spread their wings, circle around, and continue the combat again. You feel the coldness sort of from the feather permeate into your brain once more.
Can I try and talk with the spirits around me? Like, is that... Would I know that that's the feather?
Oh yeah, make a
tell me
wisdom.
something?
We can make a wisdom check.
Are we able to talk at this time?
I would say right now, like the cutscene is over. You guys were, I would say, trying to intake your surroundings at this moment before you could get a full idea. This sort of scene of aggression intruded and is now the focus of what's going on. Thunky is just from her perception check following this faster than most people. So when this is done, we'll get into you guys will be able to do whatever you want to do.
23.
Okay, you sort of like pay attention to the coldness of the feather and feel the connection of the wind once more. And it's almost like the wind sort of zooms your perspective up to the teal flapping creature, which is this, now that you see this beautiful bird with two large ears, this thick bassy tail that almost ends in this series of collected branches, almost like a large sort of like rose bush. The end portions of its wings go from the entire creature's teal to yellow feathers to sort of like light blue feathers, and there is a blue entity, like humanoid figure, riding it. And as your perspective sort of zooms in, you hear, "What do we do, mistress? They're getting stronger and more aggressive." And you hear, we fight until there is no more air under our wings or in our lungs. They will pay for disturbing Norhollis's grave. Watch out, mistress!" And then the creature sort of collides with them once more. And they spin, they're sort of like now spinning down towards the canopy. You guys are able to do whatever you wish to do. And you still feel this sort of like gust of wind, sort of like pushing forward and collecting in an almost visible tube of air as you see the leaves of the blue trees sort of like get lifted up and taken and form this almost like tunnel of air.
So we've landed in Pandora.
Pandora. I don't know where that is.
Oh my. Is this your doing, Thunky?
Lions, tigers, and bears.
No, I don't know what brought us here, but it's way more beautiful than where we were just at, so
It was.
I'm
Should we
okay
be
with
worried
this.
about that?
It was fading.
Yes, we should be worried about that large black mass that just came out.
When you said they're coming towards the canopy, do you mean towards us?
No, towards it. So like, imagine two giant, massive creatures sort of like flying and spiraling up. One attacks the other successfully, and then the other sort of like falls down and then catches itself. And then they're sort of like repeating this like series of bouts, and it looks like it's unclear who's winning at this point, but it seems like one is being chased by the other, the teal one.
Do I see any other animals around, like that can fly or run really fast or anything?
Do a perspective. All right, perception check.
Perspective check.
We're gonna need to
What's my perspective?
one of those blue birds.
Well,
It's always gonna cock there if I do that, I guess. Yeah.
why don't you go and help one?
Nope.
I've been on the blue one.
You're still taken in by this entire scene before you. This is an entire new setting. This is new geography, flora, fauna, and for a scientist, it's like hard to separate the immediate curiosity from the immediate necessities of survival.
Amazing. What is this? What is this over here? Oh shit! Battle.
I would say you all also feel like there is almost this cushion of wind around you. You feel lighter, almost like the gravity is lower on where you currently are right now, but it's less of a difference of gravity and more of like a difference of support from the natural currents of the air.
So I was able to hear them, but can I communicate back to them, or can I only hear them?
You can communicate back to them. You feel the connection.
Oh, okay. I'll just say, like, we mean you no harm and we would like to help you. How can we help you fight whatever you're fighting?
Okie dokie. Let me turn this off.
What was the name of the spirit's name again? On the ship? Syl.
Cellophane. Pepper.
I just wrote down Syl.
Syphilis?
I want to say Sylvanus, but that's not.
Silnephris.
Silnephris.
Hold my penis?
That's a cool dice, Rummy.
It's made out of penis. Literally, it is.
What?
It's walrus, I guess, penis. Yes, or the walrus ululus, the bone that goes in there. Yeah.
What the fuck?
You just said it was walrus before. You didn't mention anything about it being fucking a literal walrus boner that you're rolling.
It rolls really well, so.
No wonder.
Had a good and erotic life. So you're trying to reach out. Is anybody else trying to do anything?
How far away are they?
They're about 50 yards from you.
And does the blue tube look like it?
Blue tube?
Yeah, like wind tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like in the shape of a tube.
Yeah.
We got blue tubes.
Does that look like it travels in their path at all?
Yes, it does, in fact. And it almost seems like... roll a perception check. Whoa. Whereas, like, you see Thunky, like, standing and sort of, like, maybe squinting her eyes, and you see her, like, ears sort of, like, fidget a little bit, like she's talking, or, like, focused on something off in the distance intently. And the gust of wind is pressing past her, and it's almost, like, centralized on her. And as you look behind you, behind her, it's, like, calm. So... This sphere, this tube of wind is almost emanating from Thunky right now. Ooh. Which Thunky doesn't necessarily realize. And Thunky, you hear, "Who are you? Prove yourself to us and help us now. Otherwise, you are one of our enemies. As has been a recent occurrence of late."
I'll be like, "The great spirit Silnephris gifted me."
I am the great spirit
God, okay.
of Silnephris.
All right, calm down. And
as you say, calm down, like she's in like you look and she's in like this fierce battle where like you'll see this small blue form like jump off of the large blue form. A magical effect will like stream off of it and slam into the black sort of the black creature. Now that you have a better look at it, has like 8 or 10 different sort of clawed appendages streaming down its the length of its body, and a mouth just filled with teeth. It almost is. Yeah, it's like more insects formed into a bat form than you would think. And it's almost like you are trying to talk to her as she's like focused wholly on this enemy in front of her.
Oh. The only reason why I can talk to you is because some version of you, whether it's in the past or in the future, gifted me this feather so I can come back and try and help her. Or you.
Then stop dallying! And show your strength.
I'm gonna size up the jump. You know, like just do a quick assessment, and then say fuck it. And I'm gonna jump in the tube.
I would say this is gonna be like a roll and actually just go for it.
And then
this will be acrobatics.
14.
A 14 of acrobatics?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Your strides seem faster and easier than normal as you even make it to the sort of like the portal of wind. And as you leap in and your feet gently leave, you are pulled along and almost like sucked through this as wind is coursing through your entire body. But you feel the majority of it pressing along the back portions of your form. Just pushing, and you sort of instantly dive below the canopy of trees. You hear the leaves like pressing past you as they're being pushed back by this torrent of wind, and you are literally surfing through in and out of the trees right now.
I'm gonna try and make myself like aerodynamic, like bring my arms in, but at the same time grab my scythe.
Okay, roll another acrobatics check.
Prepare an attack, essentially.
Var'Kir, what are you doing? Thunky, what are you doing?
Am I within 100 feet of this?
You are not within 100 feet. You are within 150 feet.
So we're not doing an initiative?
I would like to...
Not immediately. Crow, you see just like... Well, I mean, how would you know to take the gust of wind? Like, you don't know that much is in need of help right now. Other than seeing it. Thunky hasn't relayed this to you, I don't think.
Maybe as he's jumping, I'll be like, attack the large black mass!
This is a good point. I thought I asked, like, should we be worried about that?
Oh yeah, and I did say yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That
Yeah.
big thing that's attacking the blue thing.
And you see the now the large black form, like its wings sort of caress the blue form and then jerk down, and blood just streams away as the large form pushes off, and seems to be like there are many appendages just carved into the form of the teal creature, the teal winged creature.
I would like to move within 100 feet if that's possible.
Are you taking how are you doing this?
Is it possible? I mean...
You see Crow just jump off into the gust and sort of like...
Yeah, I guess I would like to do that, follow him.
Okay, Thunky shortly behind Crow.
Come on, Var'Kir!
I didn't see any animals around us at all.
You rolled a natural 1. Yeah. No, you saw so many animals that it was hard to focus on just one.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful.
So I guess I see them going into this. Is this wind tunnel taking them up or just taking them straight?
You see them disappear in the thick canopy of trees, but it's like you sort of like stick your head on like the back portion of the wind tunnel where it starts, and you can see this like clear tunnel weaving in and out of the trees, and you can even see like some of the branches like being bowed up and being pushed up in the distance, waving a little bit. So it's like taking a path inside of the canopy of trees, and will like periodically jump up and out of it.
Okay, I guess then I'll take my great sword out and hold it in front of me and just poof, like jump in like a missile.
Okay, this will be the
Can I also cast green flame blade on my blade while I do that? So next time I hit somebody, yeah.
Yes, the natural. Why can't I think of it? The natural. What did you say? Why can't I think of the damn word? Initiative. I'm sorry. The natural initiative will be Crow, Thunky, Var'Kir. Right. I'm going to roll for theirs.
You got spunk. You got chutzpah.
Bless you.
Go away.
I didn't know how to block the mic. I probably didn't do anything, but I did put my hand there.
Right in the middle of the episode, people are just like, ah!
Yeah, maybe it helped to mute it.
You hear another sort of like clash, and almost like supersonic wave as tree branches get almost like shifted in a portion in front of you. You can tell you're about halfway there as you're sort of like streaming through the trees, and you see this happen in the section of trees pretty far in front of you, and you hear another lighter cry from the teal creature, and another sort of like victorious, intimidating screech from the black creature. You are, Crow, still sort of like pulled up, and you exit the canopy of trees, still being guided by this portion of wind, to see the teal creature now falling, wings in front of it, back facing the the earth sort of like streaming down, and you see the in an opposite format, the large black many-teethed, many-appendaged, bat-winged creature looking triumphant, about to sort of dip down for the what could be a killing blow. And you see this blue form on the chest of the teal creature falling down. They are a few seconds away from hitting the canopy, and you are, I would say, 40 feet as the roll another acrobatics check, because you said you were preparing your scythe and your aerodynamic nature.
Is that a real inspiration dice right there?
No, I'm sorry. It's actually not.
The natural one.
You bring out you like close in your body, bring your limbs in close together, tilt your head up, and are shooting like a bullet. And as you sort of shuffle your arm around to undo your scythe and like click it open, it catches the wind in a really odd way, jerking your shoulder, shifting your entire body, and twisting it as the support of the wind tunnel ends, and for all intents and purposes shoots you out like a cannon. Your body is ragdolling sort of through the air right now in the direction of the teal form in the black winged creature. You will take.
Very helpful.
You will take.
You're new to flying. You can't blame yourself.
You will take 10 points of bludgeoning damage. You all have full health, by the way, as you have sort of come into this place in a renewed state. You feel as though you had just woken up. I should have added that. You feel like your body is fully refreshed and
Refreshed spell slots.
Refreshed spell slots and all that good stuff. As you hit one of the thick branches sticking up a little bit over the rest of the canopy, you hit one of the branches, sort of spin off and slam into the opposite canopy about 30 feet on the opposite side of the encounter. So you're now 30 feet within distance to them, but you are also down, and so you'll have to use half your movement to get up, as you are just like in this bed of leaves and broken branches on the top of the canopy, and you just see the black form with the teal wings falling beneath it. You are up, though. I am very sorry. Consider your next moves. I really have to pee. Okay. So you're up, Crow. Sorry. Let me 28.
Good to go?
Yes.
So you said I have to use half of my movement in order to get up?
Yes, you will.
I'll do it. And then I'd like to... How far... Would you say I'm like 30 feet away from them now?
Yes, you are 30 feet away from them.
I'm gonna try and... Would I, looking at the situation, think that I can no longer, like, catch up to them? Or do I feel like it's possible for me to use, like, I don't know, like...
With the added sort of support that your body has had, and even slamming into the trees on the opposite side from where you came from, felt almost supported, buffered in a certain way. You feel lighter than normal. You feel confident about your movements in general. And I would say, just to unnarratively describe this, your movement speed is doubled. So whereas it may be halved getting up, you still have your essentially full movement speed, and then double that if you decide to dash. But also the teal creature is up in the air, also about 30 feet from the canopy. So it's like 30 plus 30, we'll say 45 feet if you intend on...
Oh, they're above me. I thought they're falling, so that's...
No, they're far above the canopy. One is about to fall into like the canopy of the trees onto a tree, if that makes sense.
And that's the blue one?
That's the blue one, yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, fuck it. I'm going to try to use a key point, Step of the Wind, to double my jump distance.
Okay.
I mean, let me know that you think that's a waste. But I'm essentially going to try to recover and attack the black thing that's coming right for the teal thing.
Okay, that'll be about 70 feet in the air, because the teal creature is about 30 feet in the air, a total of about 45 feet away from you. The black thing is higher than that in the air. It's going to be a difficult jump.
Okay. Well, if I don't think I'll make it, then I'll just... Maybe I'll just try to break the fall of the teal creature.
Okay. Go ahead and roll an athletics check. This is how sort of like the effectiveness of your jump, how strong it can be.
Okay. Not natural 20.
You feel that you sort of like, as you take your jump, you sort of leap into the air again, almost feeling like lifted in a certain portion of your force going upward. You feel that you could, with a ranged attack, hit them fairly easily, but with with your scythe or anything in your hands, you're not going to get close enough to the black creature.
No, sorry. I'm trying to break the fall.
Yeah, I know. So now now that you understand that your jump wasn't sufficient enough to attack the black creature, you can, I would say, roll a... How are you going to break their fall?
Since they're coming down and I'm going up, I was going to try to like grab onto it and like turn it so it's, I don't know, like its momentum is shifting so it's not so downward.
So you
Okay,
mean
definitely
you're going
roll
like
an
that?
acrobatics
He
You're
said I
check.
was
going
going
like
to
that.
hit. He said I was going to hit a branch, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to change his trajectory.
Okay,
And-
roll an acrobatics check. Added.
Advantage.
No, the wind's not gonna like help you move your own limbs.
Well, I'll just throw my body around at this point. Natural 1.
Natural 1.
Yep.
Try using the jade dice instead of that.
You jump
dice.
into the sort of like.
Buried them in here.
Aren't these the jade dice?
Oh,
Oh, you have other jade
I have
dice
other-
too.
they look different colors. I'm not sure which one's jade. Yeah.
You jump up and meet the level of the falling creature. As they're falling, you intended to like grab their one side of their wings and like use the force of your jump to maybe put them on an appropriate trajectory, like turning them around and letting them sail, like open their wings. But instead, your body just collides with the fold of their wing, and you are now captured with them in a spiraling downturn into the canopy. And sort of like you are almost immediately taken by this black and like deep teal and blue scene as your entire body is just like wrapped up in these wings as well. That's your bonus action movement and action, I think. Yeah.
I'm friendly, I swear.
Thunky, you are up.
As soon as I'm within 100 feet, I'd like to let off a lightning bolt.
Towards the black creature?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you, in a similar fashion, roll a dexterity or acrobatics saving throw. Actually, no, I would say for you, you were like, as you exit the torrent, the wind tunnel, you are like, your feet skirt above the tops of the trees, and you are sort of almost like guided onto a portion within 30 feet of the scene, as you're just like, and almost like caressed down onto a dipping thick branch that you can just sort of stand on.
Okay.
Mid-air, you're just as you see the black formed figure in your view. Go ahead and what does it roll?
A dexterity saving throw. Did it make it? 16?
I was trying
Who
to
knows?
those ones in there, yeah. You could use that big like, dwarf D20 though.
Dwarf 20.
6.
What do you need?
Oh god.
Don't do that.
You need more D6?
Poor Magnus. They hurt us so.
Poor Magnus.
But they can do nothing.
Why, Rummy? I am the ruler of this realm. I can make myself feel as good as I like.
Poor Gelfling
And I can make
Magnus
you
can't
feel
do
as
anything.
terrible. I am the most powerful creature in the galaxy. The Dark Crystal will make me immortal forever. Get it done.
My question is, why do the Gelflings not think that they're evil? Because I mean, their castle looks like a bunch of giant bones put together.
They are meant to follow.
It's like,
34.
34 points of damage.
Yes.
Not expecting you, sort of like shoot out, and be an added combatant on the field, and just being surprised with this streak of lightning. As you shoot it out, it starts to try and bat its wings, so it leaves the trajectory, but is too slow, and you hit center mass, shocking through it, sparks sort of like colliding and rolling up its body and disintegrating. Portions of its flesh start to sort of like burn, and its wings, as it flaps, is starting to sort of like billow out this dark smoke, and it sort of like roars into the air, this guttural screech. And you also see, you don't see Crow, but you do see this sort of like tumbling mass of the teal creature, sort of like trying to guard the blue humanoid form before it hits the branches. That was your action. You still have bonus action and movement. And remember, your movement is doubled, and you feel like lighter. Your jumps will be farther, and your movement speed is doubled.
I would like to... Is there a way that I can, like,
You're up next.
basically climb down quickly? Or I guess use the wind tunnel to, like, make my way down to where I think that creature is falling? So I can be near
You
there when they
feel
land.
that it would take a small instance of time and energy to, as you like feel the connection to the wind tunnel, to essentially guide it to a new location. It would be a bonus action to do so, if that makes sense. So you'd effectively, like, you shot out of it, you're trying to control it down to where the teal creature's landing. It would just be a bonus action to sort of like guide the nature of it.
And he's still in it, right? He's still in the wind tunnel?
Yes. You don't know that, though. You just jumped through.
I would like to guide the tunnel so that it can, like, dip down and... Can it, like... can I angle the wind tunnel so it's like they're falling this way and I can angle it this way so that they can like fall into the wind tunnel and like.
Might not be a good idea since my knife is right there.
Roll a wisdom saving throw.
So if I hit you guys, you're gonna die. Sorry.
As you are sort of like feeling the connection from the feather in your headdress sort of like flow the wind through you, and you are trying to airbend and shift this tunnel to be in a more ideal location for the falling creature.
18.
Easily enough, you feel the sort of like streams of wind connect, and you sort of are like shifting it and rolling it and sort of like throwing it up. And as it extends out of the exit of the trees that it currently is at, its snake-like shuffles and almost like curls forward and appears right below the mass of the creature. But you see this form just like zip past green, sort of like emanating from a pointed tip coming straight through the tunnel. Var'Kir, you are now up as you.
Since I didn't know they were coming, I was basically saying I'm going to start spinning like rifling in a barrel to make it pretty much devastating. Yeah.
Maybe it'll be like really close. You know, like they'll fall and you'll be like.
So I'm pretty much just like a bullet. Just.
Okay, roll an acrobatics check to see if you can actually control your body enough in this wind tunnel to
rifling in a barrel basically forces it to go straight.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll do that.
But you're trying without rifling.
I'm spinning, yes.
This is to see if you can even get your body to spin.
Acrobatics check, you said?
Yes.
Where in the world is that? Oh, skills.
What's up, buddy?
So that is a 15.
At 15, you start trying to spin, and like your body sort of like it's hard. It's like when you're actually falling in free form or in free fall, you can't exactly control the nature of how your body works.
I was going to add a firebolt to make myself spin. Just like Bakugo, basically. Yeah.
Okay. That also takes a massive amount of coordination, especially in like a foreign form of transportation. So go ahead and roll an Arcana check to see how masterfully you can. Yeah. So you got what was it? An 11 acrobatics?
A 15 acrobatics.
15 acrobatics.
Ooh. So that is a 4 for Arcana check. So.
Yeah. You. Okay, Gannon. You're gonna have to get out of here. It looks like you did that on purpose, Gannon. It looks like you took your head and you jerked it down to get the iPad out of your way.
He doesn't understand chords. He goes against them immediately.
Var'Kir, as you are in this sort of mode of transportation that you've never experienced before, you try and sort of like twist your body and use your magical abilities to sort of like spin your form, making you more deadly throughout this journey. So when you exit, the object of your
just making it more
attack would have an even more devastating blow. But you try and sort of like shift your form. Failing that, you throw your hand out, sort of like throw it across the side in the opposite direction, arcing around your body behind you. Try and throw off a firebolt to spin your body even more. But you just end up sort of like blowing yourself into the opposite side of the tube, getting caught up in the thick torrent of wind that's keeping this whole thing centralized and directed, and your body just goes like limp and starts circulating as you're like, and you shoot out. You rolled a 15 and a 4 on acrobatics and your firebolt.
Higher than the last one, though. But yeah, whatever.
And so you've lost control, and you are just sort of like shot out as you see this like large teal color, this teal mass sort of like collide with you. I will allow you a I would say an intelligence check at disadvantage.
For what?
Just to understand what is going on right now. because your senses are almost
4.
a 4. Yeah, you you take 1 point of bludgeoning damage as you slam into the sort of like organic feathery form, and sort of like its wing. You slam into its shoulder, and its wing arcs upward as your body slides past and up into the air as it falls past you. And it's the top of the round, and you see the form just sort of like get collected by the gust of wind beneath it that Funky had sort of air bent. And you see that around the chest, sort of like grabbing and arcing her arm around and through the wing, is the blue humanoid form that's almost like connecting to this torrent of wind and making it easier for the teal form to correct themselves. And as it's sort of like in this moment of stasis, it pushes its wings away and finds equilibrium and is now crossing and arcing around the canopy on top of the canopy of trees once more. And you hear, "Thank you. We will destroy this creature together. Show me your power." And it is going to turn around and just take its wings and go and send this supersonic blast of wind sort of arcing up towards the black creature.
What happens to us?
This is the top of the round. This is their turn. So what happens to you? Oh, yeah, what happens to you? You Crow, you feel this, like, as you're wrapped up in its wing, you almost feel this very pleasant, like, guiding of wind around you as the wing sort of like stretches out and releases you, and you are through the sheer force of the wind pressing up from beneath you, being pressed up against its wing. And as it rights itself and takes off, you're sort of like spun around in the gust of wind, and you're almost like, imagine like a Halo teleporter or a Halo force elevator that doesn't send you up all the way. It just like it like just keeps you floating. And so you're just sort of like at the base of this floating gust of wind in a state of, yeah, you're gonna have to do something to get out of this, essentially.
Is Remy in that same state?
No, you see a not a black form, a red form just sort of like spiraling up and out and closer towards the black creature. And the black creature is going. Remy, I'm sorry. You tried a bunch of stuff, which would have been cool if you rolled high enough, but you just didn't roll high enough.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody within the vicinity make a wisdom saving throw as the black creature sort of like unfurls its wings to the largest extent of their range, and its appendages, its sort of like insectoid appendages uncurl out as well, and its jaw almost like unhinges, and you see the air displace in a cone out emanating from its mouth outside of its body. It's just this curdling screech. What'd you guys roll? 2.
13.
6.
You just barely make it, and the other 2, you are now afraid of this creature. As Var'Kir, it's not your turn yet, but as your body is sort of like being through the trajectory that you left the tunnel, being naturally guided towards this black form, blotting out the sun in front of you, you can't help but feel this welling of deep fear inside of you, as almost things are outside of your control right now, and you are going right towards the maw of the beast. Crow, same with you. As you feel that your power has been taken away from you, as you are in this sort of like torrent of wind being held aloft, you're trying to like pedal towards one direction, finding no no purchase, and you see Var'Kir going towards this creature as well as it just belts out this screech. Things are looking rough in your mind, dire. You're not quite sure what to do in this foreign place. Thunky, you're pretty good. Sort of like the wind swirls around you, gives you some like fortifying sort of like goosebumps of fuck yeah. And you're good to go. This creature needs to die. Next up, Crow. You can use your action to roll to get out of the fear, or you can just try and get out of your current circumstance.
I think I deleted. I know monks have an ability to use I think it's a key point to like
stillness of mind or something.
Yeah, but I don't know where it is. I know I have it though.
I mean, monks are all about meditation and stuff. Just use a key point. Take one key point off of your allotment, and we'll just say that it canceled out the fear, and we'll take away bonus action.
Okay. That's a bonus action?
Yeah.
Doing it 2 key points down. I'm gonna shake it off, or maybe collect myself while getting shaken up. And then you said I also have to do something to get out of this like wind torrent that I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to do. Am I on anything? Like, did we
like
hit
you have a
that
cape,
branch?
you have like somewhat manipulatable appendages.
Pirouette
You can do an acrobatics check to try and find like the natural courses of the air and sort of like spin yourself out. If you want to do an acrobatics check, you may.
Not kidding about that pirouette. I'm acrobatically pirouetting out.
Okay, go for it.
And I'm
Dunky, you're up next.
If I'm still by that branch, then I'd like to land on it.
Okay.
Is the black creature now far away enough to is it outside my jumpable reach?
The creature's still about like 60, 75 feet up in the air.
Okay.
You can try and like.
Can I try and?
You can try and
make it on
take
the
your
blue
cape.
creature?
You can try and take your cape and like use it as a Batman glider and try and like catch as much of the wind as possible.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it like a squirrel suit if I can. I'm trying a lot of things.
Yeah,
before
acrobatics
actually-
check.
Yeah, pirouette. Hey. 32.
32. Yeah, sort of like feeling around, feeling the wind pass through your roots and in and out of your limbs. You sort of like calm your mind, get rid of the fear, and understand how the wind is affecting your body. You grab your cape from behind you and sort of jerk it and unfurl it out at the same time, and it immediately catches the wind and sort of like starts spinning you upwards. It's not going to spin you very far, maybe like 15 feet. But for right now, you have gained stability, and you can either glide away or...
I was actually trying to, pirouette out and onto the branch that we were...
Oh, I thought you were trying to go towards the creature. Then yeah, you
and
gain a
then
moment of
jump
stability.
off the branch into the wind tunnel again. To hopefully get more distance than 15 feet.
The wind tunnel doesn't... I mean, okay, yeah. Okay, so would you roll on your dex or your acrobatics check again?
32.
Okay, then definitely. You use your cape, sort of like unfold it a little bit, catch a little bit of the wind to spin you up and out, arcing out of the sort of like central torrent, landing on the tops of the trees, bringing your cape back in. You crouch down and jump back into the torrent, unfurling your cape at the exact same time. Jumping, arcing your body up, chest towards the sky, arcing down towards the earth once more. And right at the right moment, you unfurl your cape, sort of sending you up in the air.
Just Cause style.
Exactly. 32 feet.
Wow.
And I'd like to head in the direction of the blue creature since that's closest.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, you've sort of like gained enough air, and you're surveying the surroundings, and you bring in your arms, and are now you can't actually, bring this movement to fruition, but you're preparing to soar down to the teal creature now.
Soar down. So now I'm above the blue creature.
Yeah, the blue creature's like their chest is on like arcing across the trees, and it corrected itself getting out of the gust of wind after falling, and then it attacked the black creature, and then it didn't like gain any more air than that. Okay. So you're now in between. You're like right under the black creature by about 30 feet, and then about 30 feet under you, 45 feet away, you've got the teal creature flying around.
So the teal creature is 45 feet away from me now?
Yeah, about.
Okay.
I mean, you've got next round. Yeah. Okay, Thunky, you're up.
I'd like to plant my feet a little bit more into this branch and then let off another lightning bolt.
Yeah. Sort of like the silhouette of Tim appears behind you. Go ahead and roll. Fudge!
What the fuck was that in there? Was this in there? No, it wasn't.
It was.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, cool.
You're up next, Var'Kir. As you are flying up towards the black creature. 36 points of damage?
Yes.
Yeah, it rolled a 10, natural 10 does not beat a 15 is what you?
16.
16 does not beat a 16 DC, and you see another sort of like the sky around you darkens almost just momentarily as the jolt of lightning leaps from your hands as you press your sort of like feet, lower your body, get a better center of gravity, and just sort of like thrust your hand in the air. Tim's specter behind you putting his hand out as well, like Dragon Ball Z Cell Saga, and it just like the smoke that was billowing from its wings before is even larger, and you see small streaks of fire across its flesh as it's sort of like now losing a bit of its air and trying to correct itself. It's looking beat up. You still have your bonus action and movement.
I guess I'll call out to everyone around. Can I like yell and also put it out there through the feather at the same time?
Sure, yeah.
I'm gonna ask everyone, do you need me to move the wind anywhere for you? I don't know, can they hear
respond?
me? Can they hear that?
I'd say Remy should have preference.
I can't do anything.
Well,
I literally can't do anything. No, I'm fear.
I would say
I have to move away from the creature. I have to. It's part of fear.
Well then, towards the black creature, of course.
Then as a bonus action, can I like
Sort of like extend it up.
move it? Yeah.
And you
so
notice
it's
that like
a direct
after
line.
you like make the sort of like connection with the wind, roll your hands and throw the sort of like extend the torrent up into the air, you realize that Var'Kir is right in between the torrent of wind where it was and the creature to begin with. So it just picks Var'Kir up and continues Var'Kir into the wind. Sword still.
It's really weird.
Swords.
I'm feared, so I automatically turn away from the creature. That's what fear does.
You have no choice right now.
I know, but I would literally turn away from him because that's what fear does. I can't look at him. So I'd be like, yeah.
Maybe seeing his comrades in the wind tunnel will encourage him.
So, one, roll a wisdom saving throw, Var'Kir. You're not moving?
No.
9.
Still feared.
Yeah.
Now roll an acrobatics check at disadvantage.
13.
Since you did not technically attack. No, yeah. You take another. You take another 6 points of bludgeoning damage as your body, in its ragdoll state, gets picked up in the torrent of wind and almost acted like a pellet being shot from a wind cannon as you slam into the mass of this creature and feel its like thick insectoid hide and these small sort of like disgusting moist slabs of flesh and hair pressing against your body as you slam into its center mass and sort of like roll out and up and over it. And yeah, you take that amount of damage and it also takes 6 points as well. The teal creature is up and they are going to sort of just like, you see this pulse of this shifting of wind underneath their wings, and it sort of like shoots up. Its beak opens up, and it streaks across and is going to try and just bite the black creature in its moment of weakness. Definitely hits. And everybody around the scene sort of like sees this teal creature zip up, almost like a bullet streaking past, and you see purple blood just rip from the black creature as the teal creature just like rends it with its beak, and then once with one of its large talons, and sort of like arcs away and out from the distance. Next up is the black creature, and it is going to go and attack. Let's see. Crow, as you are hanging in the air, waiting to direct yourself, the scene around you sort of like darkens as the shadow gets larger and larger and larger over your body, and you get sort of like the leaves on the back of your neck stick up, the small little wooden tendrils, and you look up to see this large form right over you. We'll say 4 massive claws just. It'll be 2 attacks, but 7 and another so 15 and 12 and 12.
Can I use uncanny dodge on that, or was he?
What's your armor class?
19.
It only rolled 12, so you for both attacks. You bring in your cape, spin your body as one appendage or 2 appendages like scrape across. You jerk your shoulder aside, another, you dip your head down, and then you sort of like continuing with the backflip down, dodge 2 more as your body shrinks and is now aiming towards the ground. Just narratively, you can still sort of hold your position, but you dodge both of its attacks. You're now up as this creature is now directly upon you, and it's like blood from it is falling from its body and hitting you right now. It's like every attack is like slurping just like throwing gouts of blood in every direction.
I'd like to grab my hand, or the little, what are they called? Sickles. I'd like to try and stick a sickle in him, and then, if that's successful, lay some unarmed strikes and fury of blows on him.
Okay, go for it. Roll to attack.
Tickle with a sickle.
Tickle with a sickle.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay.
You got lucky.
Seriously. 25 for the sickle.
Hits.
Jeez.
It's on the other side of you. What is going on with yours?
It's 8 damage for the sickle.
What's your next attack?
2 unarmed strikes, and then
So, its fate is in your hands.
oh snap!
As a gout of blood, sort of like as you turn around to face it, sort of like spills from its center mass of its body and sort of like lands over you as you're falling down in line with it going towards the canopy.
I'd like to stick my hand right where the blood's coming from, and just try to punch through as deep as I can and penetrate whatever's in there. And I'll say I like, put my fingers together to do a little knife hand action.
Okay.
And then grab and then pull out.
As it sort of like comes in and unleashes its barrage of attacks on you, you sort of like dodging everyone in the air, getting a little like still feeling the effects of the air almost assisting you in all of your movements, and coming out unscathed the first time. You feel the blood sort of like plop over your body, still falling towards the ground, and you turn around and just feeling the trajectory of the blood, aim your hand straight to where it was coming from, and you hear and you look up and your hand is through its jugular, coming out of the other side, out of like the right side of its neck, as you can see your hand through its skin is penetrating the entirety of this thick creature's neck. And what else do you want to do? As you see its like eyes get infuriated, confused, and then just sort of like cloud over and lull as its body is now falling with you.
Ooh. Wow. Do I have free actions then?
Yes.
I'd like to try and quickly clamber up onto the back of this thing and like try and see if I can like pull up its torso or the wings or something to try and
roll
slow
an
down.
athletics check.
Sorry, I put them all back.
28.
Okay, you sort of like twist your hand around, grab some of the portion of its bring it back through its jugular, grab its it's the spine that's sort of like going through its neck, so like wrench your body up and over onto the back, slurp your hand out as blood is just sort of like pouring, its body, all of its muscles giving way. You grab both of the wings and just pull them up, pressing your knees in, so like arcing your chest outward as you're like, ah! And you can feel the wind just slapping and slowing against the length of these massive wings, the ends just sort of like, but like the majority of them sort of like holding firm, and you are just sort of, you effectively slow your stop until the base slams into the top of one of the Belbanus trees. The entire form, the mass, sort of like squishes with you on top. Blood it jettisons out of both the neck, the mouth, like any other open wound, as its insides are effectively pulped and shot out of it. And you just feel your knees sort of like lightly touching through the flesh of this creature, the tops of the blue willow trees.
I'll say, boy, I sure hope you deserve this.
Var'Kir is still up in the air. Thunky, you are up next. Var'Kir, followed by Var'Kir. As you see this scene of like, you throw a lightning bolt at it, the teal creature along with the blue humanoid sort of like rushes, does some damage, and then Crow just sort of like finishes the job and slams the body into the tree. The red form of Var'Kir is still sort of like lolling in the air, almost dazed.
I would like to, I guess, manipulate the wind tunnel so that Var'Kir can come back down to the branch where he's safe.
Okay, almost like you see this sort of like disruption of air and material around you in the shape of almost like this snake arcing up and over and grabbing Var'Kir and sort of like guiding him down towards where the rest of the party is, as the teal creature sort of like arcs around and lands on a portion of the blue trees by you. What would you guys like to do as you see this again, this like brilliant yellow beaked creature with these large ears of yellow color, teal fur that turns into large feathers, into yellow feathers, into very light blue feathers. The sort of like tail arcing up and over with this almost like rose bush on top of it. This very lithe blue creature in what seems to be like natural adornment that covers most of her, sensitive portions, but for the most part, her boobs. Like imagine sort of like a windy version of Shiva, just this sort of like blue-skinned female who looks a bit young, just sort of like on top of this creature's neck.
Are you still Nephris?
I am. How did you come into this forest? First, where am I? Where are my manners? Thank you for...
It like sounds like she's speaking through wind itself. And she says,
this forest is changing. You helped us take one of its more recent dangers. Thank you.
What was that thing?
We have no idea. It is one of many that has found its way into our forest. There have been two that have changed this landscape. The winds are no longer as easy to control and move to my desires. They have held up in the Omega Castle. They are plotting with dark magics at their fingertips ever since Norhalis sacrificed himself. Things have been different. People have been trying to take advantage of his territory. Namely those two. Are you here to help?
In a way. I believe you were captured sometime in the future, and you sent us back here to try and help you in the future.
What a confusing plot device.
Isn't it?
I notice one of my feathers in your headdress.
Yes.
It comes with many powers. Only I am capable of such a gift. It leads me to believe that you are telling the truth.
We are. The version of you that we met said that you need to fill this up with your power so that it can get out of so that you can get out of your cage in the future from where we came from.
Boy, this just gets even more convoluted. I can fill it with enough of my essence to benefit me caged in the future, I suppose. But I'll need your help here first, before I can do that. My powers are still of use on this plane. Can you help me take out those two ominous figures?
Yes.
Slice his throat. Just kidding. While this is happening, I would like to rip off one of the talons on this bug creature
Okay.
that I'm on. I'm not really that close.
Roll a survival or roll in. Yeah. I guess a survival check.
Can I also inspect this creature closely?
Yes. Go ahead and roll an investigation check.
12.
You're able to get like one large claw off it. Its appendages are sectioned where they have like it's just like one large sort of like bending appendage ending in a long like talon nail, if that makes sense. And so you now have this like 12 inches long almost like funnel of bone and nail in your possession. That's just sort of like bleeding purple blood with some bits of sinew still inside of it.
And then I'll make my way over back.
What'd you get in your investigation check?
11. I was trying to see if there were any similarities between this creature and an Unagoth.
Between this bat creature?
Yeah.
There are... It's hard to phrase. Like, its general appearance kind of reminds you of one. Like, it does have, like, large ears, similar to the Unagoth's bat form. It's got the large sort of wings, but that's where the majority of its appearance or its similarities end. Yeah. Silnephris goes,
And this is my faithful partner, the Queen of the Lunar Gales.
And the creature that's about 15 feet in just sheer body length sort of like rightens its shoulders that lead to its massive feathered wings and stands regally and sort of like fluffs out its patch of neck feathers and just elongates them as they settle back down.
We come as a pair. I will always be her faithful steed.
And the voice sounds familiar to you.
Can I
roll an investigation check or an intelligence check?
Natural 1. I don't know who this lady is.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, but like you're in a different place entirely. It probably just says,
There's no way it can be the same person.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I'd like to head over to Rummy. Assume he's by them now.
You mean Var'Kir?
I'm still falling.
No, you're not. I brought you down to a branch.
Yeah. She controlled the torrent to like
That.
move it by where they're at.
What? So you have to put it above me to push me down?
No, I basically, Talon
'Cause
said
I'm
that
up in
I
range, though.
snaked it so that it caught you and then it brought you down to the branch that we're on.
Even though I'm about. Okay, I guess.
But anyway, I'd like to hold out the claw thing and be like,
I don't know what that is.
Would you like it?
I got it from that.
Throw it over his shoulder.
Nope. Okay. And I'm gonna.
Nope. Okay.
I'll put it in my traveler's pack.
All right. She says,
This forest is changing every day. I feel we do not have much time here. I do not think that my powers can keep you here for very long, for that matter. Come. We must go through the ramshackle to make it to the Omengar castle. It's the fastest way there.
All right. Let's be on our way then.
and she goes,
Queen, bring your children. We'll need them for this endeavor.
and the queen sort of like throws her arms out and does this sort of like belts this almost like pleasant scream into the air. It's like I can't do it, but in your mind it's way more pleasant than that.
Dolphin.
And you hear this sort of like this like shuffling of trees off in the distance as you can see the rolling of willow branches up as three smaller forms of the Lunagale sort of like burst from the trees and arc around and land by you all.
I'm gonna approach one that's
Yeah.
closest to me.
Hold out my hand. That's me communicating too.
Okay, roll a I guess an animal handling check.
Fantastic.
I'll just hold my hand out to it and, for it to sniff or do whatever.
23.
Okay, for both of you, it's sort of like it's almost immediately as you throw your hand out, like its feathers settle down. It sort of like rights itself, but calms at the same moment, providing this air of just comfort and familiarity towards you as it sort of leans its head into your hand. Crow, your Lunagale looks you up and down. The more it gazes at you, the more it starts to settle in as it sort of like sees a leaf growing from your shoulder from the sort of like twined roots and everything. It almost like recognizes you as a creature of nature and does the sort of like offers you the same level of engagement of just sort of like, like I'm welcoming you. Var'Kir, what are you doing?
Falling, I guess? Am I...
You've been caught already.
I guess I'm just going to stand there. Yeah.
One of the teal Lunagales, smaller in form than the original one, approaches you and just sort of like lands in front of you and is almost like waiting for you to address it or approach it. As you see the other two sort of your companions already sort of like almost connecting with their Lunagales.
Is the giant beetle in front of me? What's Lunagale look like?
Just imagine a very large bird, a very large, almost like what is the white bird with the yellow sort of like mohawk that sticks up? Cockatiel. It's like a teal cockatiel, except the two, instead of having one mohawk, it's almost got like two mohawks as its ears on its side that arc out into yellow feathers. Just this large, massive creature. Go ahead and roll an intelligence check. Being a man of schmiance.
8. 8.
It's a flying creature. It looks similar to the one that you came in on.
Yep. I guess I can't do anything because I rolled so low. So I guess I'll just.
That was for my own purposes. You can if you're trying to like, you can try and appease it in some way.
I'll just go walk up towards it. That's all I'll do.
All right, animal handling check then. Shouldn't you be somewhat good at this with owning a horse?
1.
Not your game, Romy. I'm sorry. It snaps at you. You take 1 point of piercing damage as it just bites into your forearm. As you get a little bit too close too quickly, and then it sort of like lets up as you like feel the presence of the larger Lunagale sort of like shift towards the smaller one. And Thunky, you hear, "Bear with it. Let him ride you. We need their help," come from the larger Lunagale. And it sort of like lets up and, you know, puts its head in the opposite direction from where you're facing. It sort of like lowers down its wing.
Yep. I guess that's the end of my turn. I guess I'll try and.
Well,
get
we're not
on
in
it, I
turns
guess.
anymore, so.
Oh, I guess I'll try and get on it. That's it.
All right, you can do that easy enough. Are all of you hopping on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give my bird some good scratches on the neck. Under its feathers. No.
What'd you say?
Just kidding. Nothing. I just get on.
Okay. All of your Lunagales sort of like take off at the same time, and you feel this sort of push of wind behind you as the blue-formed Silnephris throws her hand up, and it's as though she's commanding the winds to help you get pushed through this forest. And you can see that across the expanse is almost like multi levels of trees. Same like the most frequent tree you'll see is the blue, almost like willow tree around here. And every now and then the wind will almost like glitch out, stop, and you guys will have to sort of like sail on your own before it gets picked up again. And Silnephris will say, "My influence is waning here. It's getting worse." As you push forward, sort of like flying through and over the tops, you can hear the of the leaves on the trees shifting and getting pressed below you as you guys are keeping this sort of like low altitude over the canopy of this forest, so like diving sort of arcing around the floating islands and larger portions of trees. You see like Silnephris will almost like pridefully point out different portions of the forest that she just wants you to see the beauty of, and she'll be like, "Look at the wistful butterflies," and they'll sort of like this horde, this like a gust of wind of multicolored butterfly wings will pour over this tree with buds or seeds sticking out from each branch, and they'll almost like caress the seeds, and then you'll see them almost like fuse, and their wings will rotate outwards into almost like the shape of a rose around as each butterfly clasps onto a bud and then buds out themselves. You'll see sort of like swaying trees off in the distance of the blue willow trees, all in tandem, and you'll just see these sort of like sleeping monkeys upside down on a tree, almost like being lulled to sleep by these by the natural winds and ebb and flow of this forest. And up in the distance, you'll see what look to be like quadruped creatures leaping or dashing from the tops of tree to tops of tree. Thunky, roll a perception check.
$22.
You see these, like hundreds of feet out, these sort of like rams jumping from the tops of tree to the tops of tree. One leaps in and disappears into the tree as you see the shuffle of the mass of the tree as the branches shift, and you see birds of many different colors fly out of the branches, and other rams will almost like leap out and grab them in the air with their mouth, just like as they're just like ripping them apart. And Silnephris will also be sort of will, as you guys are riding on your Lunagales, try and give you as much insight into the situation as she can. And she says,
That feather on your headdress can do more than just control wind.
She says, follow me, and her Lunagale dips out and around and sort of like lands on the perch of one of the blue willow trees in front of what looks to be like an entire portion of the branches that's just wilted and almost like been corrupted and is falling apart. D-Lane, do you?
Yeah.
She goes,
This feather has the power to bring back life to this forest. I do not have enough of it now, nor do you. But you can heal small portions with what you have.
and she will sort of like reach out with her hand, and the Lunagale's wing will reach out as well, and almost like cross the wilted branch, and you'll see it almost like part of it come to life, and buds sort of like sprout from it. And there's still like a portion left that she looks at you sort of expectantly.
Give it a try.
I shall do the same.
As you reach out your hand, you can feel again sort of like the course of wind pass through the coldness pass through your arm and through your fingertips, and press forward and almost like caress the rest of the branch in front of you as green returns from it. The rot almost falls off of it as almost you see like a squirrel jump up from behind the branch and start running up it, nearly as though you have just brought life to this section. As you regrow and renew this portion of the willow tree, Silnephris reaches out and sort of like puts her hand on your shoulder and says,
This power, the power over life, is not to be trusted to anyone. You must be something else if this feather rests with you. It is the only reason why I trust you all.
Understandable. Seems like quite a power.
Come.
I just needed to show you the gravity of what you wield, for it may be useful in the coming encounter.
And she sort of like thrusts her wings and sort of like bursts forward. And you just hear, follow! Echoing all around here.
Give
His
it a-
birds sort of like,
Yeah.
and you can see sort of like bits of corruption coming from branches and some of the life as you see a spider sort of like crawling up and spinning what is one of those green lemurs in its web. Leaves sort of like wilting in seemingly random areas, but in a almost like even spread across this forest as you're pressing through. The rams that you saw sort of leaping from tree to tree get closer and closer. And Silnephris goes, we are nearing the ramshackle. Its leader is heavy-headed. Soon we will encounter tree swimmers. Grab as many as you can. We will use them as offerings.
What? Trees from this?
Tree swimmers.
Oh.
Those models? Fuck your models.
You haven't pet me.
Yeah, your hands shouldn't be on models. They should be in my fur.
There is definitely a cat fight going on outside.
That's so crazy.
And as you guys are sort of like pressing along the tops of these trees, wings outspread, like the Lunagales have not batted their wings very often. It's just as though they're using their wings to grab the gust of wind pushing them forward. You see in front of you this sort of like shifting of color, of orange color on the top of the blue canopy of the blue willow trees. And yeah, you're getting closer and it starts to be more pronounced, this almost like bowing out of orange color on top, shifting just like through the canopy. Thunky, make a perception check.
Oh, that's not good. 17.
Super interested in all.
That's pretty good. You see that the orange color is comprised of this almost like sea of leaping orange fish, reminiscent of koi fish. Not using water of any sense, but almost like using the wind itself. You can see that like the density of air and wind across this forest is much thicker and more prevalent than you are, I would say, used to.
Are these the sky swimmers?
They are. Prepare yourselves. Catch as many as you can. We can't afford to wait. We'll pass right over.
And she, in front of you, you see her sort of like bat her wings, and the Lunagale thrusts forward, her talons outstretched. This gust of wind just sort of like presses around them and shifts the mass of koi fish up and into the talons as she grabs a portion of. We'll see how.
How big are these things?
They're like normal size, maybe like an average of a foot and a half, in between a foot and 2 feet per sort of koi fish, as they're like bursting out of the canopy of trees and dashing in and out.
Okay. I'm gonna empty some content.
So
out
yeah,
of my pack.
all of you guys, how are you individually going about grasping at these or collecting or whatever as many of these tree swimmers as possible?
I'm gonna try and if this thing is like Marahute from Rescuers Down Under, then I'm gonna try to climb down to its
Genitals.
Hang on, and no, but like basically hang on to its talons, and then empty out some contents. Sorry, I said I want to empty out some contents of my pack first.
So which pack are you using? Because all of your items would theoretically be contained in a pack of sorts. So are you relinquishing all of your items into the wild, or...
I mean, I've said from the beginning, Crow doesn't really have much need for possessing items.
Who's holding the Atlas Orb? Is it in your central compartment, or...
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
So you have the Atlas Orb?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you had said you had the Atlas Orb.
He said he did, but that's why I was confused. I was like, I'm pretty sure I have it.
The Atlas Orb?
Come here.
Activated
Baloken
Baloken the Beautiful. I would say it would be odd to be outside of your possession,
I thought we
but
put it on the ship, and they took the ship away from us.
We put it on the ship, and then we removed it.
okay. So it's in your central compartment. So then any potions, whatever you have, if you're just emptying.
Never had any potions. I tossed the talon thing from that creature. Yeah, like I don't.
So you now have 0 items in just a bag.
Don't carry rations.
Okay. And you navigate down to the talons where you
Clothes would be gone though as well.
you're holding on to them, and you are preparing to swipe up as much as you can in the bag.
Yes.
Okay. Thunky, what are you up to?
Can I talk to my Lunagale and ask it to grasp as many as I can in its talons?
I will do this for you, mistress.
Thank you.
I will gather the most. I will not do you wrong.
Var'Kir? How are you? How or if you are you?
I guess I'd try to capture them in a net. I don't. Yeah.
Do you have a net?
I don't have anything to. I have no idea how I'd catch these things. I guess I just chase them. And, yeah.
Can I communicate to my Lunagale to convey that to the other Lunagales to grab them in their talons?
Okay. Roll a persuasion roll at advantage.
I'd also like to use sleight of hand to try and quickly grab some.
Okay.
19.
19. Okay.
Never mind. I gotta
Roll a sleight of hand check and a. No, that'll be it because you're still using your coordination of your hands to catch as many as you can. Roll an animal handling check at advantage.
I mean, I got a 4, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
28.
Okay.
28.
Okay. In the lead, so Silnephris and her the Queen of the Lunagales sort of stream over, grabbing and using the wind to collect as many as possible. Many koi resembling fish are sort of flapping in the clutches of the Queen of the Lunagales, followed by Thunky and her Lunagale as she just sort of scrapes over the surface of these leaping koi fish and just grabs clutches of them. Some just jump right into her talons, and she grabs maybe a collection of 14, in between 14 and 20 different koi fish that are just sort of grabbed and bleeding out. Crow, yours follows in next, soaring behind them, and the talons that you're grabbing onto sort of lurch out, making it a bit difficult for you to use your bag. But as the talons are lurching out, instead of grabbing them, they're just sort of collecting them and throwing them into your bag as well. So you're just trying to scoop them up, and it's being made easier by the help of the Lunagale that you're riding on. You grab about 15 as well in your sack, as some now your sack just can't even hold as many as it can, as tails are sticking out and like flapping around, and some are falling. Var'Kir, you are on top of your Lunagale, and you just sort of like almost feel it move out of synchronicity to how you were moving it before, and it dips down and grabs about in between like 6 and 8 different koi fish with its own talons, as it you can almost like feel this synchronicity or connection between all 3 of the Lunagales that you guys find yourself on, as you're sort of like reaching out with your sword or your hand or whatever it may be, and unfortunately with a 4 failing to grab as many as you can, but are still sort of satisfied with the amount that your Lunagale has grabbed naturally in the flow of all these. Silnephris goes, "Well done. This should be more than enough to satisfy the rams. Follow me." And she sort of like dips up and sort of starts to soar a little bit higher, as you can see the rams now. It's almost as though they are insects, sort of like jumping from tree to tree, grabbing the different birds that are flying away from it as different rams are slamming into it. It's like this cycle of some are jumping, some are slamming, but there are hundreds of them in this section of the forest. And you see one ram on top of the tree just present itself towards you and look up towards your collection of Lunagales. And you see Silnephris and her Queen Lunagale just release her grapple of koi fish and start flying, and you see the almost like gate of jumping and leaping rams in front of you just sort of like subside for a second as she passes through.
I'm gonna call out to her and say, "Should we do the same? Should we present our koi fish now?"
Follow my lead.
I release the koi fish.
As this sort of like mass just like slaps onto the canopy right in front of the head ram with these like massive arcing horns that almost collide to form this like dense shield shape in front of its brow, and it's just sitting there stoically. Thunky's Lunagale releases her catch, followed by Crow, followed by Var'Kir, as you all pass overhead. And Var'Kir, as you look at the stoically more pronounced ram, and it is just like a goat with ram horns. It's certainly a ram with like the curling horns. It's now sort of like neck deep in fish, or just trying to like get out of it as massive rams are converging on that location. You all sort of like pass through the gate of jumping and slamming rams. You see this black shaped structure in the distance passing over the blue willow trees. Anything that you guys would like to do, as you are a few minutes away from what looks like it could be the center of this corruption of the floating forest. You see that, like, almost like Saruman's tower, this where the black structure is, it's as though corruption is bleeding into the forest from emanating from this black structure.
Do we see any threatening things between us and that structure? Or does it look good to go?
Roll a perception check.
$18.
No, you don't. You just see sort of like dark clouds hanging over the top of the black structure in the distance, you see a central tower sticking up and jutting up from the collection of these different walls and angular ruins. Looking at it, it resembles the architecture of Bresh, where it's these diagonal geometric walls with like gardens hanging off the top and billowing off, or spilling off the top of the structures. But these are it's all dead foliage, and instead of the pale stone of Bresh, it's all black. It almost seems tainted and morphed. Roll. Oh, never mind. Different character was there. I would say Thunky, roll an intelligence check.
Eight.
Wow.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Again, it's like this echo of familiarity washes through you, but you can't put a time or circumstance to the feeling.
Just a vague sense of deja vu.
Yeah.
I don't know if this will help, but I would like to cast Pass Without Trace on all of this.
Okay, and within 30 feet, I'd say all of you are within that 30 feet, and you're going so fast with this gust of wind, even faster than Nahalis's eye normally travels, with the propelling of wind that Silnephris is providing you guys. That sort of slamming and torrent of sound on your senses of wind just passing by you, and all of the slapping of wings and almost the breaking of the sort of sound barrier is dampened for a second. The wings, the feathers collect on themselves and sort of smooth out a bit as the movements are softened, the sounds are dampened, and even the trees below you sort of stifle their movement and sound as you're pressing forward. Silnephris goes,
The Omengar Castle is a large estate. I can bring the sounds of the castle on the wind to your ears, but you have to tell me where to focus as we get closer.
And as you guys get closer and closer, like the portions of the castle start to pronounce themselves a bit more. It turns from one black structure into many different black shapes and buildings and walls and certain things. You guys are maybe a quarter of a mile from the Omegar ruins, and you have now passed over the barrier of corruption into this land. And now you see entirely wilted and almost like formed differently to be not so much dying from this corruption, but changing from it. It is, instead of the willow tree that you've seen, it's this taller, darker tree with branches. You can see sort of mist billowing out from the top and the bottom of them as well.
So we're coming up on that?
Yes, you are. You're within about a quarter mile of the castle.
You want us to do what?
As we get closer, we all need to see different portions of the structure that they're within to pinpoint their location. We are preciously out of time, I feel.
And so you get closer and you start to, she says,
It's difficult to explain. Let me show you.
And she focuses on the more questioning one, Crow. And as you sort of like are looking over the structure, you look towards what used to be a garden with one of these trees fully transformed. And you look at the base where it's just clouded in fog. but it's almost ascending out of a central structure of walls within this castle. You can almost feel the sensation of the wind carry your sense of sound towards that area, and you can hear like dark, like so it's like you focus on one area of the castle and the sounds sort of come to you. And so I want all of you guys to roll a perception check. Ooh, wow.
28.
Okay.
14.
So both of you see are immediately taken by the central angular tower that's at least 50 feet higher than the rest of the buildings around it, and sort of like arcs up to this domed, almost like chimney. You can see stone windows with shadows filling them, sort of circling the outside. You look towards the down hundreds of feet below, where the base is much thicker, where there are portions of the wall that seem to be carved out to almost create runes outside of the entire central base of this structure. There is what appears to be garden that you had listened into, with roots sort of spilling out and leading up and down through the ground of the forest that you're in now, and leading into the outside of the forest. And it seems like it's almost like bringing the corruption with it. And then you see many different structures on many different tiers, again similar to Bresh, only again the foliage is like just rotting on top of it and just spilling over the sides. You see like the shifting of small unnatural creatures in between the dead foliage crawling out and over. And then you see this series of stones sticking out of the ground, leading up to a field of stones, leading up to a central structure where mist is like spilling out of it. So I'd say out of what I described, you can try and get more information, or you can try and like almost like zoom in your perception on one of them and see what you can hear. Both of you too, as you rolled pretty much the same.
So Nefer said that we need to let her know which way to aim, because what we
So like she can use the
hearing?
channels of wind to bring the sound to you.
But what are we listening for?
You're trying to find out where the two intruders are.
Oh. I guess I would like to try and focus my hearing to one of the stone windows, maybe, to see if
On the
it's
base or at the
inside.
top of the tower?
At the base.
Okay. As you look,
I'll focus mine on the bottom. Or can she split it, or?
she's doing the bottom.
So you want to do the top of the tower?
Oh, you said the base, right. No, sorry, you said that there's another structure where there's more of the mist spilling out from?
Yeah.
I'll investigate that.
Okay. Roll a perception check at advantage, as these sounds are effectively being brought towards you.
22.
Var'Kir, it's hard to make a sense of the sounds that you're hearing as you zoom into different portions of the castle, almost like one after the other. You hear like, and you just hear like natural sounds of a dark realm wherever you try and focus. Crow, as you focus in on now that you recognize it, it's almost like a mausoleum or the crypt of this. Whatever civilization used to live here, you hear almost like the purposeful pushing of stone and the sucking of air through horse lungs and the shifting of like body, the sliding of limbs across stone, and you just hear activity, if that makes sense, like dark activity. Dark activity of roll an intelligence check.
It sounded dark.
There's dark shit happening down there. It sounds like unintelligent bodies are moving, are shifting out of tombs and sliding and walking out. It also sounds like there's in between the sounds of living dead creatures, there's like the slipping and sloshing of something else, of something non-humanoid, if that makes sense.
Definitely activity over there. I'm gonna hear
Sniff.
a few other places,
Smells like
to be
zombies.
sure.
Thunky, as you sort of like hone in on the base of the tower, you hear,
What do you mean the elemental is on her way? And with outsiders? You said I would be uninterrupted with the angel gone. This forest was mine, yet Nalhollis's fart blows away here as we speak.
I'm going to relay that to the group. And to Silnephorus.
all right, you can continuing sort of like honing in on the space, you hear,
Silnephorus cannot stop your work, Sir Maggot Bloom.
Maggot Bloom?
Yes. No, sorry, Maggot Gloom.
Maggot Gloom.
I did not come all the way from the ashes of Barathor's reach to see you fail. This will lead to great things, a future we all deserve. Especially you, Maggot Gloom. The timetables have just gone up a tad. Yes, I will supply more thralls to hasten the completion of the fog binding. I will take care of the elemental.
And that you sort of like hear both entities almost like slip away. One stays in the base, the other sort of like shifts.
Something's definitely coming for us. And he knows that we're here.
Probably a better place to go than zombies or something over there. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head over there. Yeah!
Sneakily. Sneaky.
Roll a stealth check, all of you.
Don't forget that plus 10. Oh, you're gonna need it. Just add it all.
Well, that doesn't do any good at all, so... it doesn't matter what you guys roll. I rolled 2.
It's better than what he got.
But you had 10.
12.
Still decent.
What'd you guys get?
23.
What is it? 22 then.
Pardon me. As the entire party, you see Silnephris in the front, and with the Queen of the Lunagales, sort of like dip down, wings outstretched, and pull the wings in as they're sailing towards the base of the tower. Your own Lunagales follow suit, pressing their wings closer to their body. All of you are sort of like torpedoing downward. Var'Kir, you notice a shifting in the darkness beneath you, in the shadows of the castle, that just leaps out. And you see this sort of like beaked, tendrilled mass just leap for you, and the beak enters and clips off a portion of meat from your Lunagale and just continues sailing off. As your Lunagale starts screeching, and you are failing to maintain its to calm it in this scenario. It
didn't like me in the first place. Huh? It didn't like me in the first place. So. It's like,
Exactly. And so you guys see this sort of like tentacled, beaked mass sort of like fly off and disappear into the darkness away from you, but still chirping like as it disappears, and you have lost all sense of stealth as you start to see bats just like I don't know what sounds they make, sort of like spill out of the shadows and out of the windows of the base of the tower that you're flying towards, and start to fly and make noise across the entire landscape, and just sort of like fly out and pass over you in this huge mass. None of them are doing any damage to you, but your sense or even idea of stealth has been thoroughly disrupted as you're dipping down below.
Is there... Sorry, no, you go.
I was going to say, well, it's not going to stop us.
Is there a good place to hide, does it seem?
I might be done playing, because I have rolled nothing but 155.
Yeah,
Damn.
but you have also, rolled those without consequence. So now you are set up for success. For sure.
I don't know if that's the way it works.
It's definitely the way it works. Do you want to borrow one of mine?
I don't want to roll it, but your dice is... Yeah, take that.
Do you want to roll one of mine, Rummy?
No, I'm good. I'll just roll my
That one
dice.
has
anyways.
fucked you over a couple times.
I rolled 31 so far.
Doesn't matter if his character. If he dies, he dies. If he fails, he fails.
I mean, we'll see about that. There we go. Hold on. Getting the right music. What were you up to? What are you up to? Sorry, I was focusing on the music for it.
Landing.
Failing whatever I rolled for.
What do you roll?
But the 12. And they rolled. Remember, it was for the whatever my Lunagale or whatever. That's the last thing you had us do.
Oh, okay, got it. Well, yeah. So I was asking what you guys are up to next. Like,
I'll just
as you are like almost feel a presence watching you now as you're descending on all of your Lunagales.
You said that there's a glass dome at the top?
No.
Oh, it's not the structure?
I didn't say that. There
are stone windows.
Yeah, there are stone windows at the very top, and there are stone, like, imagine carved out of cobblestone, like, runic shapes along the radius of the base of this structure, which is much larger than the tower portion.
Is there a Does it look like there's an entrance at the top of the structure, or just the base?
It's like maybe 200 feet from base to top. The runes are coming out of the base mass of the stone structure, and at the very top there are windows, just like more traditional windows, that are almost like just like coiling out blackness from them. Thunky had mentioned that the lower base was where the Lunagale should be going.
Right. That's where we'll land.
Okay, you all see sort of like this entrance through one of the runic symbols, as there's like a portion of stone that's missing, as different sort of strands are curling away from it in the stone to complete this rune. But there is enough mass for all of you to sort of like pull your wings in and fly through.
I would like to hide. Find cover.
Roll a stealth check.
She's hiding, I'm hiding too.
She's hiding. I'm hiding too.
She said.
I'm hiding too.
22.
22. Okay.
Thought you rolled a 3 as well.
31.
For stealth?
31.
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay. Are you trying to roll stealth at all? Are you adding 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I could try, but
You hear more leaping from the shadows in your guys' wake of a familiar sort of chirping creature.
13
With 10?
with 10.
Okay. As Silnephris sort of... you see the wind sort of... or at least the impression of wind collect on the wings and shift the Lunagale's body through the central mass, just sort of like guiding her through, easily slipping through without much noise, followed by Thunky, similar sort of dampening of noise, and Crow. And then behind you, you just hear this as the stone wall lurches forward and explodes as Var'Kir and his Lunagale are behind you. But both you and Thunky have sort of like, as you entered, dipped into the shadows. Crow, I'll say you went to the right, Thunky went to the left, and you've sort of like are arcing around with your Lunagales as quietly as you can, keeping to the shadows. The central figure is still Silnephris, and now Crow behind her, as they present themselves in this. What you see now is small strands of dim light through the barrier. Very good. You see monoliths circling a black central pool. It looks to be a reservoir or a tunnel, a well that just descends deeper than you can perceive right now. It almost turns immediately to darkness, this hole in the central of the chamber. These 8 monoliths you see are almost collecting and spilling mist out that's being that's descending into the tunnel, and you can see this almost like shift of color and material cross the entrance to the tunnel. It's a pool of blackness that seems as though it's connected to a something. You just feel evil almost emanating from it. And I would say everybody roll initiative right now just to see how we proceed with this.
4.
Ooh.
Don't do it, cat. I rolled a 1.
Is that canted?
Wow. Ooh, wow.
That's better.
17. Should we pick up this weekend?
I got a 10 on initiative with my bonuses. A 10.
A
He also
10.
A
got
10. And I have a plus 6 to initiative.
Okay, so 10, 1.
Don't stare into the darkness.
So, Thunky, roll a perception check.
Natural 20.
A natural 20.
Yeah, with added bonuses is 33.
Oh, shit! Okay, so, Thunky, as you enter in and disappear into the shadows, you can still see the bit of moonlight entering the carved glyphs in the side of this tower that are spilling light onto the scene before you. You see behind every single monolith, I guess behind half of the monoliths that you can see, are kneeling down in a praying position. You hear the mutterings of small figures, all muttering the same utterance. You see runes, small writing across each one of these monoliths, highlight with everything that the thralls are speaking. With every word they say, another sort of like a line of runic text highlights and forms across these monoliths. You see in the center, on the opposite side of you, a robed form of this dark gray-skinned figure. Long, sinuous hair, long, sinuous beard. They look ancient in every respect of the word. They are leading this chant and ritual. A book is open in the central emptiness of the whole, standing up on its own, and with every word that's uttered, you can also see scrolling sort of glow across each page of this book, and you see a robed figure at the top of... One second. Where is this shit? Aha! You see behind all figures, behind the central one, this, it's not a throne, contrary to what I'm showing you right now. It's like this triangular dais that can fit one person comfortably on it at its tip. You can see one person there, robed, sort of pull their cloak down and reveal blue hair in a long sort of ponytail coming down, with bindings of a monk around their fist, sort of squaring up, as it were, readying up and saying, Silnefris, welcome to the party. I'll show you around. And she, you see this feather come up as the last portion, as the hood descends fully and reveals the face of what looks like a younger Koltessa. As Crow and Thunky are arcing around, seeing the scene in tandem, Silnefris sort of like spills her presence forth and is hovering above the scene of whatever ritual is going on. Var'Kir exploding with his Lunagale behind her, almost in line with her as well. This is what you come across. Maggot Bloom leading a ritual. Koltessa inviting Silnefris to the party. And this is where we will pick up next time on SASANS and Dragons. Thank you for watching, SASANS. Hope you enjoyed this side focal adventure of Orin's Obliterate. Definitely necessary for the main campaign. 1 off, 2 off now. As always, until fate next brings us together. And never stop playing role-playing games.
夜明け生まれ来るものよ決して見失